Story of Saints. November 22nd is the feast day of Saint Cecilia, a martyr and the first incorrupt saint, her name forever honored in the Eucharistic Prayer recited at daily Mass today. Born around the year 200 in Rome to a high-ranking noble family, Cecilia pledged herself to remain a virgin but was betrothed against her will to a pagan nobleman named Valerian. She told Valerian that an angel was sent by God to protect her virginity, but Valerian does not believe her. Cecilia told her husband that if he was baptized then he could see the angel, so Valerian went to get baptized into the faith. Upon his return from the baptism ceremony, Valerian saw Cecilia talking with an angel, and the angel placed a crown of fiery red roses and snow-white lilies that never withers on each of their heads, symbolizing that they are now in union with God, officiating their marriage. Cecilia also convinced her brother-in-law Tiburtius to the Christian faith, and the two brothers went out to perform missionary works. At the time, it was illegal to bury the bodies of dead Christians, but the brothers faced danger head-on and went out to give deceased Christians a proper burial. One day, the brothers was caught in the middle of a burial and the judge ordered them to pledge allegiance to the Roman god Jupiter. The brothers refused, so the judge ordered a Roman officer named Maximus to behead them. As Maximus prepared his axe, he was struck by a vision that instantly converted him to the faith, and so all three of them was executed. Meanwhile, Cecilia went out preaching Christianity and converting 400 people to the faith, resulting in her arrest. The judge ordered her to be locked in a bath of boiling water in her own home overnight so that the steam could suffocate her, wanting Cecilia's death to look like an accident since she was a pure and chaste girl loved by many. However, this execution attempt failed as God miraculously extinguished the scorching flames, transforming the boiling water into a soothing bath. Upon seeing that Cecilia was still alive the next day, he ordered an executioner to cut off her head. The executioner struck her 3 times, but her head stayed on her body as she bled. By law at the time, the executioner could not struck her a 4th time, so they left her in her home to bleed out until death. For the next 3 days, people from all over came to her, offering consolations for her suffering and to hear her preach. She spent those days offering all her remaining possessions to the poor and dedicating her home into a church. In her final hour, Cecilia could no longer speak, so she raised her thumb and 2 fingers to symbolize the Trinity before slipping into eternal rest. After her death, Cecilia was buried in the catacomb of Saint Cecilia, and her house was transformed into a church. In 821, her body was moved to a newly renovated church, and it was seen to be incorrupt. In 1599 her tomb was moved again to the Basilica of Saint Cecilia. Here it was opened again, nearly 1,300 years after her death, lying on her side, covered in a bloodied cloth and marks on her neck from a clumsy executioner. The saint looked as if she was simply sleeping. Saint Cecilia is the first incorrupt saint of the Catholic Church and is recognized as the patron saint of musicians because it was said that she sung in her heart praises to God at her wedding as well as during her execution. As we celebrate the feast day of Saint Cecilia, let us remember that Cecilia went out to the streets during a time of Christian persecutions and courageously defend her beliefs with songs even as she was being executed. Let us learn to live in her example, courageous, doing good, and giving thanks even when our family and friends persecute us for our beliefs. In order to continue learning about a new saint every day, click the subscribe button below and ring the bell to turn on your notification. Thank you, and may God be with you always.